The summer 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France, they have wrapped up, and I wanted to give the lessons I've learned over the 2 weeks coming from a runner's perspective, because from an entertainment perspective, it was entertaining, from the Turkish pose to the Australian bunny hops, from the break dancer to the chocolate muffin that went around the world. It was a very entertaining event, and I have to give credit to the Coach Bennett podcast, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have tuned in to my first ever Olympics watch. Because to be honest, even though I am a sports fan, I follow basketball. That was my guy. I follow basketball, I follow football, I follow all these American sports. I watched the World Cup, Copa America, but I've never tuned in to the Olympic trials, which I missed an opportunity because I live in Tallahassee, but the trials were held in Orlando, and I should have arranged somehow to get there to watch Connor Mance and Clayton Young win the trials. I missed the opportunity, but I'll try and go to the 2028 Olympic trials and possibly the Olympics. That's a far out there goal, but without Coach Bennett inspiring me to become a fan of the hobby that I do, I probably wouldn't have tuned in. And oh man, like especially the 10K men's event, I was literally sobbing in tears from Eric Fisher winning that thing, because he like tripped during the race. And for me, even though it was like a 25-30 minute event, I was tuned in every single second. For the men's marathon, even though that's a 2-hour event, I was tuned in every single second. I was watching the triathlon and a bunch of other sports. Like, I didn't know equestrian, even though I've played it in Breath of the Wild, a video game. I didn't know that was a real life sport. Rugby sevens were magnificent. Seeing the Steph Curry flurry in the final game of USA Basketball, that was awesome. So many great sports to watch in the Olympics, seeing Katie Ledecky do her thing. But my focus is on running, because I care about running. And oh man, the athletics events, those were something to watch for sure. And I want to be clear, my high school did not have a track team until my senior year. And by the time that team was created, I was already doing like musical theater. So I did not know the steeplechase was a track event until this year. And I've been running for like 7-8 years. Que pena. I know, it's embarrassing. But the first thing I learned is that you always have to be ready for your opportunity, because you never know when it's going to come. And this comes from Tamika Tola, who won the men's marathon. He was a substitute for Ethiopia. And Ethiopia, Kenya, they dominate long distance running. Even though USA was kind of picante this year, Tola wasn't even supposed to race in the Olympics a couple months ago. But all of a sudden, a runner got injured and he subbed in, and he made the most of his opportunity. He rose to the occasion. So always be prepared, honestly. And also, even if you aren't winning at the beginning, never give up, because you never know what might happen. Even if you aren't the favorite, upsets do happen in sports, and that's kind of what makes sports so great, is that you don't always know who's going to win every single time. You can root for the underdog, and the underdog sometimes can come out on top, and that's Eric Fisher getting bronze in the 10K, the second time in 56 years that someone from the US got on the medal podium. We had a USA win the 1500 meter event. That was crazy. And then what was insane to watch live was the men's 400 meter for USA. Seeing, I think his name was Quincy Hall, like in the last 100 meters, he was like fourth, and he somehow, stride for stride, took the lead and won it at the end. And that was insane to see. So going into the Olympic race, I did watch a little bit of the trials, but I didn't know too much about Eric Fisher. And I learned that he plans his workouts 10 months in advance. Now, I'm not saying like every runner should plan out their workouts 10 months in advance, but if you do want to be great, if you do want to get better at running, you definitely probably should plan out what races you're doing that year, what type of workouts do you want to do each week, roughly what mileage do you want to do per week. And overall, I've been personally doing that. I only do that kind of like 2 to 3 months out. But Eric Fisher, who has an electrical engineering degree, which I think was why I was crying so much, because I'm a runner. I can obviously relate to putting out an all-out effort on a track or just a cross-country course. but also he is an engineering degree, and not only that, an electrical engineering. That's my major in college. So I think that's why like that affected me so much. And then just hearing that USA is just kind of slept on in the longer distance events like the 10K, like the marathon. And Clayton Young and Connor Mance, oh man, they ran great races in Paris. Like it was like 70 degrees, which is like warmer for a marathon day by the end of it. And it was super hilly. The Olympic record actually went down, which shows just how much running has advanced, whether it's the super shoes or the training and the nutrition. But some things that I learned from Connor Mance and Clayton Young is that they peaked at 120 miles per week. And that's for a 2-hour, 8-minute marathon. They almost PR'd both of them. But that is insane. 120 miles. They do, and like to get to that mileage, they do basically all the things that regular runners do, just like increased on every single like possible scale. So for the long run, they do 25-mile long runs. And you can see this on their Strava, which I didn't know until post-marathon. But they taper. They taper 3 weeks into this event. They do speed workouts. They do little like repeats with like 1 minute rest, like whether it's like 1K repeats or 800 meter repeats or mile repeats. They do that. They do marathon pace intervals in longer runs. Their marathon pace intervals are like 4:45 per mile, which doesn't really compute in my brain, but they do everything that a normal runner does, just faster and a little bit longer. And for context, I'm doing 56 miles per week, nowhere near the 120 mile scale, but you can learn things from the top runners. And even that, the top runner, the GOAT, Kipchoge, he's 39 years old, about to turn 40, getting up there in age. Obviously, the age cliff comes for everyone in sports. And Kipchoge had his first ever, did not finish. And I know it's like hard for someone, if you have like months of training to go into a race and then not to finish that race, but Kipchoge did it. It's totally okay to not finish. He couldn't defend his gold medal. It's okay. Sometimes it's just not your day. He was like kind of like holding his hand to his hip like early on, like 6 miles into the race. It's okay to not finish, because in 5 weeks you could turn it up again with another strong marathon effort and then possibly get a PR. So the lesson is that obviously if you're not in it at the front during the whole race, it's okay, because you could make your way there in some last second kick. But if you're just not truly feeling it, it's okay to not finish it. And this is one thing I love, is that it's totally okay to bring some swagger and fun into running. We saw this when Connor Mance and Clayton Young, training partners, they high-fived each other during the marathon race. We saw it when Sha'Carri Richardson on the 4x100 meter looked to her right with some swagger in her face as she was finishing the race. We saw it with Noah Lyles. As soon as he found out he won the 100 meter race, his passion for it. It's totally okay to bring fun into running, and I think everyone as a runner should bring more fun into it. You could be confident and still respect all the other competitors. Like I know Noah Lyles is like the champion of what, and then that whole like meme is like going around poking fun at Noah Lyles and thinking he's like too boastful. But Noah Lyles was, in my opinion, respectful to the other competitors, and as long as you're congratulating everyone else, you can celebrate and have fun. I asked my parents for what lessons they had from watching the Olympics, because they watched some events with me. My mom is actually a bigger Sha'Carri Richardson fan than me, believe it or not. She did do track in high school, so she possibly relates there more to me, who didn't do track, did cross country. My mom said 3 lessons. Never give up on your dreams. Always believe you could do it. Always give it your best. And my dad went simple. He said, you train hard, you succeed. And that's true. You train hard, you put in the work, you're gonna get results. So even though we saw the Curry sleep during the USA basketball game, no one did the gritty from the marathon at the finish line, as far as I know, at least in the top 10. So I guess I'll continue that tradition. I'll do a gritty at the finish line every marathon race I do.